over and over and over again decides that their speech is more important than your speech. But Gary, as is Gary, William Garrett Snow Jr., for the record, decided to wave his flag and get closer and closer and interrupt the protest. He'd already given some warning shots at prior events at Connell or Dave and others. And he made good on some promises. Got right up to the line, which he's done this in Chicago. He knows where that line is pretty well.
What Attorney John Phillips fails to realize is that I, too, have the right to be out there exercising my First Amendment right. We all had the right to be out there that day. Nobody had a permit. The Jacksonville Progressive Coalition did not have a permit. I did not have a permit. Nobody has the legal right to occupy a certain space. So, as you can see in the video and in the police reports, members of the Progressive Coalition were surrounding me, not allowing me to walk forward or walk beside me, and they were recording me. This is a tactic they use. They kept encroaching on me and invading my space, not allowing me to move. I had no other choice but to get out of that area in front of the platform, and I made my way around the platform so that nobody could impede my traffic, which is another thing that made this an unlawful assembly. They were impeding traffic. People needed to walk on that sidewalk, and the members of the Progressive Coalition limited my ability to move on that sidewalk. So that's why I made my choice to move around and make my way up to the platform so that my voice could be heard as well.
Got up to the line. I think crossed the line when he made contact with Connell, initially on the right side of the stage. Regardless, he forced himself onto the stage, was forcing his message, provocateur, scuffled over some argument on the right side of the stage.
For Attorney Phillips to say that I forced myself upon that stage is a falsehood. I have every right to be up on that stage with everybody else expressing my First Amendment right. Again, I was not allowed to walk on the sidewalk as members of the Jacksonville Progressive Coalition surrounded me, limiting my ability to walk. And this is a common tactic. You know, if I push against them to make my way out, they're gonna file, say, oh, he hit me. So I made the conscious decision to make my way up to the stage so that nobody could block me. My First Amendment right to support Donald J. Trump would be heard. Again, we all have the right to be out there. This is our First Amendment right. There was a scuffle on the right side of the stage. No, Attorney Phillips, they stole my property. They were trying to stop others from hearing me. They did not want others to hear what I had to say, my pro-police statements, my pro-Trump statements. So they stole my megaphone. What happened on the right side of the stage, again, was my megaphone was stolen, and I went and retrieved it. Video evidence shows that Connell put his hands on me. Connell made the conscious decision to stand in between me and Josh Weber. Both of them did the same tactic of putting their hands up, don't shoot. They didn't do anything. But we have video evidence that showed Connell put his hands on me and was pushing me away while I was trying to retrieve my property. At that same time, you can see the gentleman in the white shirt that was on the stage with us jump down off the stage. I had a Donald Trump flag in my hand. When I went to retrieve my property, when I went to unwrap the cord, the gentleman in the white shirt stole my Trump flag. This would be the second time somebody stole that flag, and he made his way to the left side behind the stage. That's when you could see, after I retrieved my cord and I handed it to the gentleman that was with me, Connell aggressively took off running because that gentleman that I handed my cord to went over there and he again tried to retrieve my flag. So if anybody was being aggressive that day. It was Connell, it was the gentleman in the white shirt, it was Josh Weber, who continued to steal my property, who continued to limit my freedom of speech because what I had to say did not fit their narrative.
I believe pushed Connell. Then on the left side of the stage, they all went over there, and he, flipped a bird right in Connell's face to the point Connell had to move, which was assault in this country. Assault on interrupting an assembly. But he put the finger in Connell's face right next to a cop that he knew. And guess who got taken down? Connell. Guess who got to walk away? Gary.
False. Fake news. That's fake news right there. That's Attorney John Phillips doing his job again and telling lies. I did not know that officer. I don't know that officer's name. I've never met that officer before. But John Phillips is trying to plead his case here. He's saying Gary Snow knew that officer, so of course that officer was not going to do anything to Gary Snow. I did not know any officer out there that day. I support the men and women of the Jacksonville Sheriff's Department. I do not work for the Jacksonville Sheriff's Department. I don't know anybody. I took one selfie with Sheriff Mike Williams at the Donald Trump rally. But no, I did not know that officer. But yet, this is what John Phillips does. This is his job. He's pleading a case. He's trying to divert the attention away from his client, Christina Kittle, who we have evidence again, punched a police officer in the face. And, again, then he also says that, I gave the finger to Connell. Yes, I did give the finger to Connell. I could plead the case, I think maybe I should be an attorney. I could plead the case that I was speaking sign language to a hearing impaired person. There were some heated words that was said. I gave the finger to Connell. I put it in his face. Did I touch him? No. Did Connell swipe back and hit me in the arm? Yes. So that'll be the second time Connell touched me that day. And the officer seen Connell aggressively lunge at me and swipe away my arm. And that's when the officer decided to, arrest Connell. Connell made the conscious decision to not be arrested and to resist arrest. I think it took 4 police officers to arrest Connell that day. And video evidence shows that he fought the whole time. All this could have been avoided if Connell simply complied. If Christina simply complied. If Beckham just simply complied. If the veteran, didn't reach around and grab that officer and complied, nobody would have been arrested. Nobody went to jail. And this incident would have never have happened.
And melee ensued. Right, melee ensued after that, where police took down several individuals, including our client, Christina. And what should have been just a simple affray. If a bar fight happens, the cop's there. He just pushes the two parties apart. If they keep going, they'll charge him. But this was a group of cops that from what we can tell, were with the investigation unit. They weren't there to keep the peace. They were there to do investigation on people they've been investigating. And they certainly, added to their dossier that they were creating.
Again, John Phillips is doing his job. This is what he gets paid to do. He's trying to say that JSO was out there conducting counter surveillance. That the officers out there that day were not doing their job, when in fact they were doing their job. They were out there protecting everyone's First Amendment right to freedom of speech. They were making sure that nobody got violent, which subsequently members of the Jacksonville Progressive Coalition did become violent. But it's a fact that the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office has been conducting some counter surveillance on these groups. If you looked at the Times Union report and some of the pictures, I was also in this surveillance. Pictures of me were taken because I was part of these protests. This is nothing new in America. These groups by law enforcement are called red squads. This has been happening for a long time, and right now, during these times, after the election of Donald Trump, it's very important that we have these red squads out there. Let me just give you a little bit of history on the red squads. In the United States, red squads were police intelligence units that specialized in infiltrating, conducting countermeasures, and gathering intelligence on political and social groups during the 20th century, dating as far back as the Haymarket riot in 1886. That's significant to me because that was in Chicago. Red squads became a common in larger cities such as Chicago, New York, and Los Angeles during the first Red Scare of the 1920s. They were set up as specialized units of city police departments as a weapon against labor union, communists, anarchists, and other dissidents. So what I'm trying to say is right now we're starting to see this new uprise of labor unions, Dave Schneider, Connell Crooms, anarchists, Antifa, especially after the election of Donald Trump. We've seen this huge uprising of Antifa and communists. The Jacksonville Progressive Coalition and a lot of their members do not deny that they are democratic socialists, that they are communists. So, these red squads are needed, because of what happened at the Haymarket riot in 1886. Let me quickly explain what happened. The Haymarket affair, also known as the Haymarket Massacre or the Haymarket riot, was the aftermath of a bombing that took place at a labor demonstration on Tuesday, May 4th, 1886, at Haymarket Square in Chicago. It began as a peaceful rally in support of workers striking for an 8-hour day, and in reaction to the killing of several workers the previous day by the police. An unknown person threw a dynamite bomb at police as they acted to disperse the public meeting. The bomb blast and ensuing gunfire resulted in the deaths of 7 police officers and at least 4 civilians. So, as we can see right now, after the election of Donald Trump, and groups like the Jacksonville Progressive Coalition, Dave Schneider, Connell Crooms, who represent the union laborers, they want to come out and say that they're holding a peaceful rally. But as we known from history, these peaceful rallies have become violent. We know by the rhetoric of Connell Crooms saying "fuck the police." We've seen in the videos of Dave Schneider referring to the police as fucking pigs, that they are an anti-police organization. And the police department, especially JSO, has every right to be out there doing counter surveillance to make sure that something like the Haymarket Massacre never happens again. When this protest, this unlawful assembly in Hemming Plaza became violent, JSO stepped in and reacted. And the members of the Jacksonville Progressive Coalition did not comply. They fought police officers. They resisted arrest. And subsequently, they were arrested. They were charged with felony assault on police officers and inciting a riot. When you stand up there and chant "fuck the police," you are inciting a crowd that's out there. And, those charges might be dropped. It's going to be hard to try to convince the judge that they were out there inciting a riot. But the assault on police officers, we have that on video. There's no way around it. Connell resisted arrest. Christina Kittle punched a police officer in the face. The veteran stood behind an officer and put him in a chokehold. So the evidence is out there. what John Phillips is doing right now, this is his job. This is what the man does for a living. This is how he earns his money. He's going to try to vilify me. He's going to try to vilify JSO, and it's not going to happen. You know, they're going to be out there May 1st, this is another significant day. You know, this is May Day, which all stems from the labor unions and this Haymarket massacre. So again, I've read posts with the Jacksonville Progressive Coalition saying that they're going to be out there May 1st. You know, this is May Day, and their voices are going to be heard again. This is why the police survey these people, because of the potential of violence. You know, they continue to say that they are a peaceful organization. I moved here last year. I went to a Black Lives Matter rally that they were associated with, and 4 or 5 people got arrested that day. I think a year before that, they shut down a bridge, and more people were arrested that day. The only problem, the only reason why this has made national news is because somebody has finally stood up and has voiced their opinion about this group. And, you know, I oppose, you know, their rhetoric, their ideology, and they chose to get violent when I go out there and express my freedom of speech. They finally have been confronted, and they want to vilify me for that, for me going out there, expressing my freedom of speech, for supporting Donald Trump, for supporting our police officers. You know, at the beginning they said, you know, that I was a nobody, you know, you know, now John Phillips has a 30-page dossier on his law office website about me. He's done research into my history, which is all futile accusations. They found nothing. Again, the number one tactic of the Democratic Party is to say that you're a racist and you're a white supremacist. I challenge anyone, John Phillips, anybody with the Progressive Coalition, to provide evidence that I'm associated with any white supremacy groups. There's none out there, because I'm not associated with any white supremacy groups. I've been an advocate for a while now against racism. I don't stand for it. I don't believe in it. I believe in an American society, and that we should abolish all forms of racism. My problem with these social justice warriors of today is that they only believe in one form of racism: white supremacy. And I believe that they actually need white supremacy. They want white supremacy to be out there, because that fortifies their fight. But, you know, they ignore the black supremacy. They ignore the black Hebrew Israelites that stand on the corners of Jacksonville and preaching their hate. They ignore the new Black Panther Party movement. This isn't your original Black Panther Party movement. This is the new Black Panther Party movement, which is a registered hate group. They ignore the gentleman, Corey Muhammad, in California, who recently walked through the streets of, I think it was Fresno, and shot and targeted white people. This is the new era of America, and I'm going to stand up against all forms of racism. I just don't see white supremacy. I moved to Jacksonville, and the only thing I've seen is somebody putting some literature in a plastic bag and leaving it on people's cars. I don't see Klan rallies. I don't see white supremacy groups walking around the streets. I definitely don't see white supremacy groups on the corners of our city preaching their hate like I do with the black Hebrew Israelites. So, you know, I think that, you know, the claim that I'm a racist is, again, another tactic to discredit me. And it's not going to work. The people that know me know what I stand for. My family knows me. They know what I stand for. And my supporters know what I stand for. You know, I believe in our president, Donald J. Trump. I'm going to stand up for him. We voted for him. He won. And, you know, and I'm going to continue support our police officers.
And that's essentially the events. Various charges have come out, including all the way up to incitement of a riot. If you can show me the incitement, I'll give you $1. If you can show me a riot, I'll give you $1. I'm going to leave here without my money today, from the perspective of the Jack Spot, with my money today. Certainly what the police did was insightful. Certainly what Gary Snow did was insightful. So that's certainly my perspective.
All right, thank you.
Again, John Phillips. This is his job. This is what he does for a living. He's going to try to make a case to vilify me and to show that I'm guilty, even though that I was never charged with a crime. He wants to deflect away from the crimes committed by his client, and he wants to try to show others that I'm guilty of crimes, which is false. This is this man's job. This is what he gets paid to do.